Welcome back to our Founder Spotlight, where we are highlighting the veteran entrepreneurs who are turning early belief into long-term success. So today I am really happy to be joined again with James Legier, founder of Legier's Workshops, who placed second at our 2024 Detroit Business Shower and recently joined us in Normandy, where he helped create custom rings that were deeply personal, incredibly meaningful to our entire community that was there. So we are going to get right into it. But James, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Anytime Warrior Rising reaches out, I try to make sure I can clear my schedule
Yeah.
and be a part of it.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I know we've shared some of your story across social media, but reintroduce yourself briefly, talk about your business and its transition because the name changed, if anyone
Yeah.
remembers, but also the Normandy trip. So kind of walk us through from there to now, in a year span.
Yeah. I'm James Legier. I started Legier's workshop in my garage 5 years ago. I make custom wedding bands, memorial rings, whatever you want to call them, that can feature material from, sports stadiums or cremation ashes, or like the one we did in Normandy had sand from all five beach landing zones inlaid in it, and then the name of a World War II veteran engraved on the inside. And when we did the ring presentations, we all sat down and shared the story of the veteran that was in that ring, and that was a really important part of the process and a really important part of what I'm trying to do with this business is continue to tell people's stories, because everybody has a story, whether it's
Yeah.
a super big significant one or it's just significant to you and your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, you didn't start with rings though, right?
No, I started just as a normal woodworker. I was building tables and stuff for our house, and I really wanted to do that full time, but I realized really quickly that most people don't want to pay the shipping from Hawaii for a table that they're already spending a lot of
Yeah.
money on. So, one night I was just searching online for what can I do that still allows me to be a creator and a maker, but doesn't break the bank on shipping off island. And, rings came across the list, and I was like, rings, okay, I could do some rings. And it started with just like Jack Daniel's bourbon barrel staves.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
and then
awesome.
people started coming to me and they were like, hey, I've got this, this wood from my grandpa's barn. Can you put that into a ring instead? And that was really the catalyst of,
Yeah.
okay, I can be doing things that are more meaningful rather than just it's a ring with some wood from a whiskey barrel that you like inside of it.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, because we usually have some of your rings on display at some of our different events. Whether you're there or not, like at the TAC event, we have them displayed. Every event you've attended, you have your display. And it always stops people in their tracks because they get so curious. Like, what is this? What's the significance? And a lot of people talk about the sports and the stadiums, but I'm like, there's so much more you can do with this. It could be the tree that was in your front yard when you grew up. I mean, it could be literally anything. So I think it's really cool what you're doing and really meaningful to so many people. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about Normandy because we haven't connected on that piece specifically. But what was the experience like? How did it impact your journey with your workshop?
For me, I if you had told me 5 years ago that making rings would have gotten me to Normandy on the 81st anniversary of D-Day, like
Yeah.
I it would have been real hard to connect those two dots
Yeah.
back then. It was one of the more surreal, eye-opening experiences that we had, especially the I keep going back to the moment where we did the ring presentation, and
Yeah.
for me as the maker, I had seen these rings for months leading up to the event. I had seen the names inside of the rings, but I didn't know who any of these people were. And they were fathers, they were grandfathers, they were uncles, they were relatives to pretty much everybody that got rings. So being able to hear those stories after spending so much time making the piece but not knowing the significance behind it, and then
Yeah.
finally sitting down in Normandy to hear the stories told, it was a extremely emotional moment, and it was one of the moments where I kind of sat back and I was just like, okay, I'm on the right track. Like this is
Mhm.
exactly what I had hoped for
Yeah.
when I really started to go into the more significant and personal ring designs, is giving people the ability to tell that story. You know, you could be walking down the street and someone's like, "Hey man, that's a super cool ring. Where'd you get it?" And you say, "Hey, I got it from Legier's workshop." But the reason why this ring is significant is because my grandpa was in World War II, and you know, it just, you know, really starts to kind of show how significant something as simple as just a ring with sand in it can be to someone.
Yeah, I mean that ceremony was really special, and I know I was behind the camera most of the time, but it was impactful. I was not expecting it, but it makes sense, and it was a really cool moment. So I'm really glad that everyone had a chance to tell the story and was so open to that group that was there. But going back to just Warrior Rising in general, one of the great things we do are host these amazing business showers or pitch competitions with real grant money on the line. So a lot of sponsors and donors ask, they want to know and follow up with our community of veterans, military spouses, family members, you name it. How did that help your business, that grant money? Because you did win second place. How did you use it?
The grant money for me, I used a lot of it for more tools and more materials for the shop. I used it for advertising, and really the biggest thing that came from the business shower, and I know I've heard it be said several times over, and I've started to say it several times over, is the grant money is great.
Yeah.
But the connections and the networking that happens at every single Warrior Rising event, whether it's the biggest one or the smallest one,
Yeah.
it might not change your business that week, but you could get a phone call 6 months to a year later that says, "Hey, we're ready to rock and roll on this." Like with Three Forks Wood Reclamation, we started a conversation with them right after Detroit because you had mentioned that we could probably collab on some stuff. And literally a week ago, they texted me and said, "Hey, what's your address? We finally got the wood from the Utah Beach and Omaha Beach barns in, and we promised you some pieces of it to make rings."
Awesome.
And you know, it was almost a full year later that introduction kind of started to pan out.
Yeah.
The Iowa business shower that we did in May, there was an introduction that was made there by Casey Maxted, and a week after I got back, the gentleman called me and he was like, "We're ready to go on this. Like, I've showed so many people your rings. This is what we want to do." And it just so happened the day that Sam sent the, "Hey, alumni, we want to hear your success stories," is the same day that I got the phone call from the guy saying, "Hey, we're writing up a contract for you.
Heck
this is what we want to do." And I was just like, literally could not have happened without Warrior Rising. Like, there's no reason I would have been in Iowa. Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
It was incredible.
It's really cool to hear that. I mean, this community is there forever, and any event you want to go to, it's like you're typically there. I've seen you at so many events at this point, to include Normandy, which is like wild, just a wild experience for all of us. Really, really neat to be there. But with the work that you do in your workshop, is there something that most people misunderstand about what you do?
That's a good question. I think people are kind of surprised when I tell them I'm a one-man show, and I've talked to a couple of people who, I'll post to friends and stuff like, "Oh, these were the 5 rings that I did today. One's from Fenway Park. One's from, got Normandy sand in it. One's, there's like 5 or 6 different materials." And one guy just last week was like, "How do you come by this stuff?"
Yeah.
I'm like, half of the time stadiums will sell dirt and wood from the benches and stuff like that online. Other times it's people coming to me and saying, "Hey, I've got sand from Iwo Jima. Can you make me a ring out of it? And you can keep whatever you don't use." So I'm building up the shelf of the material right now in my shop, and sometimes I just stop and look at it and I'm just like, man, this is a weird collage of just the most random stuff from all over the world that I'm taking and putting into rings.
You got your own museum up in there.
Yeah, it's like a little
kind of
museum.
That'll be your next thing. But speaking of next things, what would be the next thing that you're looking to do with your business?
So right now we are focused on the partnership with Collect U. Today, an association or an organization associated with Penn State called Happy Valley United launched my rings on their website. We're looking at 3 other universities: Tennessee, Northwestern, and Boise State. I've already
Yeah.
made those rings, and they're showing them off to all the people. There's something I've always wanted to do with rings, and it's I want them to have like a additional function to them. So I started talking to a couple friends of mine this past week, and I said,
Yeah.
"Hey, would it be possible to take like one of those NFC chip reader things and put it
Oh,
into a band, and that'll essentially be my business card?" So when people ask me, what do you do? I just go, here, tap this. And they tap it, and all my information comes up on their phone.
yeah.
And it's going to take some tinkering,
Yeah.
but I think it would just be a cool, unique way of I'm the guy who makes rings. Why wouldn't my business card be
Be in a ring.
hidden in my ring?
That's awesome. That's really cool. That's neat. But I just want to ask one more question, and that is, what does legacy mean to you, and how does that show up in your business?
That is another fantastic question.
See, and now everyone knows that I don't tell you beforehand. This is authentic material.
For me, most people don't realize that they have some sort of legacy, or someone in their family has some sort of legacy. And some people might say it's a big, heavy word to use for something as simple as this, but when I start to tell people about what I do, and the fact that I'm trying to tell stories, I'm trying to give you the opportunity to tell stories. My favorite thing is when I finish a conversation with them and they come back and they're like, "Hey, so I was thinking about this, and I've got all of these ideas because in the moment most of the time they're just like, well, what could I put into a ring?" But give them a couple of hours, and I usually get a phone call back like, "Oh, well, what about, dirt from my grandma's garden, or the wood from the old barn on your property?" Every single person has a story, and those stories are connected with places and moments in time. Something as simple as, I learned how to, not me specifically, this is from one of my customers, but learned how to drive a car in the parking lot of Candlestick Park, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
This person now has a ring with that material in it that takes her back to those specific times with her mom and her dad. And that's what's important to me about being able to do this, because there's a lot of times, in this day and age, where we go, "Hey, we're going to tear this down and throw it away." And, it happened at my son's high school football stadium. I started telling them about what I do, and they said, "Oh, we were just going to throw all that stuff away." And I was like, "No, don't throw it away. Give it to me. Like, give it to me, and I will make rings for the alumni of this high school with pieces from the football stadium that they played in. They witnessed, some of their school's best football games ever, their upsets, their championships, all of that stuff." And that's all legacy right there. It's the legacy of the high school. It's the legacy of the people who took part in those moments. And that's really, I think, what I'm trying to tap into here with the rings that I make.
No, I definitely think you are. You're preserving moments in time. Like, you're preserving memories, moments, whatever it is. And I think that's a really important thing. But yeah, so I always love hearing your story and new parts of it that I haven't heard before. So that's always exciting for me. But I wanted to thank you so much for coming on. And I know it's not going to be the last time. We're probably going to do something epic that you're going to be looped into as well. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Again, thank you for having me. I really cannot stress enough how important this organization is to anybody who's thinking about joining up, to anybody who has joined up and wants to do more. This is a life-changing organization, without a doubt.
Yeah, we appreciate your support too. So everyone listening, thank you so much for being here. And if you're looking to get into the position that James is in and get life-changing money, community or a handshake partnership, this is the place for you. We have, everything available programs wise, or if you want to donate something to the organization, this is the impact you can have, and we can't exist without you. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll check in next time.